Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all good. Thapelo, if you are able to put on your camera, I'd appreciate that. I'm hoping that, yeah, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this show. We are a showcase of women entrepreneurs, simply because we believe in what women can do, and this is part of our support to women to say you can tell your own stories. Others can learn from you. So today we have Ms. Thapelo Maake, who going to learn from today. I had the pleasure of meeting Thapelo last year, towards end of last year, I believe, and she is absolutely amazing. Thapelo, please greet our viewers and tell them who you are.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I have a signature style here. So whenever I greet like my audience, either maybe potential customers or something, I always say "Madume go lena ka moka batheletši, mo re le babogedi, yo le mona go le gone ke Thapelo Maake, ke mogara Makubela ba kone wa Ntšhekgolo, ke phela itseng ke motlalepula ga tshala ke Mankeke, ke le beela matlapadi bagolo ba tla ka go bara ke setlogolo sa mošala, setlogolo kuku sa motlalepula ga tshola morwedi marumo Maake a ge ba kone. So
I absolutely love that. I could have. Thank you for the hands. Thank you. The hands are going crazy on the screen, and I'm absolutely loving that. Because I was trying to bring out the voice to do what the voice is supposed to do, but it wasn't doing the things. But I'm loving what is happening on the screen. Thank you so much, everyone, for the appreciation that we have for Thapelo, who is our speaker today. Now we can proceed. Thapelo, tell the viewers who you are.
Okay, so the reason I started off by reacitating or reacitate my clan names, it's because that tells you who I am and where I come from. So it basically anchors my roots, and I think it's important that wherever I go, when people ask who I am, I get to tell them the story of the late that was born within, or rather say those that gave birth to me. So Thapelo Maake is 20-year-old. I know they say you don't ask or a lady shouldn't tell their age, but I think it becomes more profound when I mention it because yeah, I'm still young. And so I am therefore looking forward to ask those who have been in this age before. And I am basically a medical student, currently enrolled in my MBCHB program, doing my third year here at the University of Cape Town. And I am, also, your Afro Vibe Scrubbies design initiator. Yeah, so that's me. Most people, I don't know, when someone asks who you are, they'll be like, I'm Thapelo, I'm kind, I'm this and that. I think that is mostly like subjective to time and objective to individual perspective. So I wouldn't say much about my in terms of like who I am in that context. But I think it's enough to just say my clan names, because if you know Kibo Mamba, then you definitely know who I am.
Yeah, makes absolutely sense. But Thapelo, you identify and acknowledge yourself as an authentic, unapologetic, proud African child who always tries to embrace and celebrate the concealed roots where the soil of your ancestors are anchored. For me, that is deep, and I think it goes back to what you've just said now. The reason why I say it's deep is because I'm taking into consideration the world in which we live today. Many of us have forgotten ourselves. Many of us have just gone with the Western, and that's where we are. What was the influence for you to get to a point, or how did you come to that identity?
Okay, so I am indeed a proud African child, and I think since like few days past, I've been actually saying I am Al Kebulan because I've just learned that actually Africa The original name of Africa is not Africa, it's actually Alkebulan, okay? So I think it comes back to my how I identify myself in terms of my belief systems. I'm very much empowered by my like beliefs and from where I come from as well. So I practice African indigenous spirituality, and that's my belief systems as unique or distinct from someone who's practicing Muslim or Islam or Buddhism or Christianity. So I identify myself as under African spirituality. So I follow and listen to the teachings of an African indigenous spiritual guide, Dr. Mboni Uzilezo Khadebe, whom recently got awarded as a global African like spiritualist in Italy. And in my journey, or rather say in everything that I have embarked on, starting with my career, I've always been influenced by my spirituality, because it comes back to say I'm a spirit from the spiritual world, and I've been sent from by the spiritual guides, or rather say by my ancestors, to fulfill a certain purpose and follow a certain mandate. Therefore, there's always imposed in me to say, is am I doing what I've been sent to do? Or later in the stages when I'm 60, is it when I'm going to ask myself, what have I done with my youth days? What is it that I've done that I'll be proud of, to say that now I'm ready to go to the spiritual dimension? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think with what you quoted from in profoundly, because it's also included in my website when people want to order and they just want to know who's Thapelo. I say it out there, like I re-emphasize it, and I think it's very important that I emphasize it even now.
Thank you, Thapelo. To everyone, we will be taking questions as we go along. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them on the chat, so that at least we can pause it sometimes and look at the questions, so we don't leave everything to the end. Now we move forward. What awareness would you say you say we need for all of us on the call and beyond, beyond our reach? What would you say is the awareness that we require for ourselves to really go deep, that kind of in assessing who we are and having a standpoint in life?
Okay. I think that it's important that one solemnly know and explore the spiritual identity and purpose on earth. Because as I've mentioned, like it is said, right, that most people only realize later in their like late elderlyhood that they've lived their whole lives chasing dreams that never fulfilled them as individuals. That's why you see some people when they're around 60s, they start to donate money for the orphanages, or start to be part of certain institutions that aim to empower young people. Because at the back of their head, they're like, I wish I had done something when I was young. I wish I had had an opportunity to actually exploit what is it that fulfills me, instead of chasing like things that peers, or rather say everyone else does. So I think it's important that we reflect constantly, especially when the year ends. I mean, in my case, the year ends in August because of I follow the African calendar. But system-wise, I follow the Gregorian calendar, which is in January. But as this is the last month, July, of my 2024, I've reflected to say, what is it that I have done in 12 months, in 360 days, or 300 in 330 something days, that have marked a certain line to say you have grown. Like you constantly measure yourself, because it helps you to also reflect on the kind of decisions that you make as an individual. Are they worth it? So I think with in my case, I learn a lot. I'm a learner. I've learned from you with the interactions that we've had, your vision about empowering young people. And I think that in my case, when I read one of the books that was published in December here in Cape Town, called An Introduction to African Indigenous Spirituality by Mboni. When I read, and there was one of the chapters that actually re-emphasized that we constantly forget as humans that we are not of this world, we're not of this soil, we're not of this earth, we're not of this air, we're not of this water. I mean, we are duet. I'm a human. What you see now, it's a host. It could have been you, right? It could have been a reincarnation of someone else. I'm just saying, could have been any other form. But my spirit is unique to me. And for me to harness the kind of energy or to sharpen myself as a young person, I need to constantly revisit and revise what is it that I have been sent to do. What is it that when I leave this world, I'll be able to proudly say, I have lived my purpose, not necessarily to say I've lived my life, because you might have lived your life in finding yourself in situations whereby you would regret, or rather say wouldn't be even proud to mention it in public. But one thing that one would be proud to mention in public is to when they say, I have fulfilled my journey in whatever way. I mean,
Wow, that is amazing. I'm totally impressed. Yeah, I guess it's a reminder for myself and maybe others to just keep in check. I'm intrigued the level of, seriousness that you take in this thing. And I've heard about the African calendar, and I know when it ends, when it starts. But you're probably the first person who says I observe this calendar, even though I live in a world that doesn't. Thank you for that, Thapelo. Now we switch to Afro Vibes, your business. How did it come about?
okay, so Alphavise Scrubbies is a collection, right? Under Lowy Afric Foundation in Kenya. Okay. So I'm a design initiator. So what that means is that in December, okay, let me just take you through what happened. So in December, a book was published, right? And we had launches in Cape Town. So I'm part of an academy called the Revelation Spiritual Home Youth Academy, which was founded by Imboni. So I am a follower of Imboni. So I had the privilege that I was selected among thousands of young people to actually be like harnessed as a young person, to be a leader, to be a problem solver, not to address problems, but to think about ways to solve problems in a way. So I had the privilege to work and serve some of the guests that came here internationally. So I was serving the Kenyan guests, right? So I didn't know that some of those guests are business people, okay? But me being the person that I am, I learned Swahili within 3 days. So I don't know how that came about, but I just learned Swahili because I just wanted to make them feel comfortable. Masalahari, Abarangani, Inalango, Thapelo, you know what I mean? Asante, words that will make them feel at home, And I didn't know that it would actually work out for me at the end, because one of the people I was serving, the founder, Amos Onyango in Kenya, he was very impressed with me. He said I was very energetic, I was passionate, I sounded passionate. And when he asked me what is it that I'm studying, I was like, oh, I'm studying medicine. I was like, okay. And he later said, would you like to be my brand ambassador? I'm like, okay, let me just check it out. And I found this amazing jewelers in Kenya, clothing and everything. And fast track, I later decided, no, man, I'm a med student, and probably I won't have the time to embrace the clothing that they have given me. I wouldn't have the time to wear all of those jewelry. So I was like, okay, let me just do a little bit of research in the company. Then I found that they have so many amazing collections, but there's one that they don't have that would fit me as a medical student. And then I decided to have scrubs under the collection. That's how I got the name design initiator for the collection.
Amazing. I think that is just a clear demonstration of what happens when we do our bit to meet others halfway. Because you used language to reach out to them basically, and look where that has gotten you. I was smiling because my friend and I traveled to Tanzania sometime last year with zero Swahili. It was very interesting.
How's the food?
So English is not the thing. It's when they
Sure.
translate it into. But otherwise, the entire 2 days of workshop was run in Swahili, and we so much wish that we understood the language. And I saw she's on the call. I think we this is maybe a reminder for me and her to start seeing how are we going to at least learn a paragraph in Swahili. I think that will take us a long way. Thank you for that,
Yeah,
Thapelo.
no
And
problem.
moving along, so you decided you're going to sell this the scraps. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to join these people and you're going to do focus on the scraps.
Mm.
How has that journey been like since you started till today?
Okay, so the idea came about in January, and we were still in the process of finalizing stuff. I didn't know that business is this hard. Yeah, I'm so bankrupted. But I used all of my savings actually, because I mean I'm a student, I get allowances, so I've been saving some money, but I didn't know what it was it for basically. So yeah, business isn't easy, right? But it's worth it. It's worth it. So you get okay with me. The thing is, they gave me a collection, and I had to do everything by myself, like starting with the marketing. And I don't even have a marketing degree. I mean, I don't even have a degree in those things. Like, tell me about theory, tell me about human bodies. I'll tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it was so tricky for me, but like Amos gave me all the support. Like Louis Afri gave me all the support. So he introduced me to the person that will be tailoring my clothes, right? So I had to be a designer. And mind you, I don't even have a degree in designing. I know absolutely nothing about texture. I know absolutely nothing about materials. I literally, I don't know anything. But like I was kept on saying, Thapelo, you're creative. I believe in you. And I was convinced that maybe everything will work out, right? So I got to learn from my surroundings as well. So I started following Lutumo, the founder of Amakosa Clothing. I hope he gets to hear me saying this. I'm so inspired. Yo, yo,
Wow.
I'm so
Wow.
inspired. Like literally, I started following him and I started looking at his designs, how he started. And one thing I got from Amakosa is that the quality over quantity. And for me, that struck me until today. I'm like, you know what? As much as my scrubs are expensive for students, apparently, but I'd rather offer something that is of quality than quantity, rather than two, buy one, two for whatever. No, no. I'd rather give something that is of quality because almost took me through the process of the scraps itself, manufacturing the scraps, starting with the materials, what they use, the milling linen, which is literally so many shillings in Kenyan, you know. And
Mm.
I got to appreciate the quality that he's offering. And that for me inspired me to actually put more effort. I started learning how to market. I started learning from others, from my friends who has TikTok. One of the TikTokers, I think Dam Diesel, who bought one of my scraps as well, started learning how do you do this, how do you do the how do you make people to like what you do, you know what I mean? And I feel like so far I've seen so much progressiveness over consistency, and I think that's what drives me to move forward because I'd rather not have a constant movement of something. I prefer to accelerate. I did physics, so I know the positive impact of acceleration over constant velocity. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it was not easy. Many people didn't believe in me because I think when someone says, "Okay, I'm gonna start a business, I'm gonna do this," they're like, "Yes, do it, do it, do it." But it's funny how people are so ready to applaud others, but there's lack of support in terms of financial. You know, like, yes, you must do this. It's so nice. It's a nice idea. But you look at them like, oh my goodness, none of my classmates actually bought my scrubs. But I have someone who's like, I have a doctor that actually who bought one of my scrubs, or rather say I gave one of my scrubs, Prof. Sutedi, the new chair of head of Department of Medicine in Grooterskia. And I was like, you know what? Perhaps I should know my target. Perhaps I should not aim for, rather say, my surrounding, but to actually aim for others that don't know me. And later on, people in Netherlands, you know, in Austria, got to actually love my scrub. So I think in this journey, I've seen that as much as it's difficult, financially, it requires me to be sacrificed, but at the end, it is worth it.
Wow. You've just described probably what most of the entrepreneurs go through. And like you mentioned, target. So it's not until you get to your market that you start seeing that growth, but it's the market that still remains to be validated. So
Mm,
as you're doing this and you're keeping that in mind and you're asking the right questions, eventually you get to understand who your niche is. And once you start now targeting your marketing towards uh, that market, then you can start seeing movement much better than when you're thinking broader. Like you said, there's the market, and then there's the addressable market, different kinds. You have to look and say it's a study on its own. And
mm,
I'm glad you've come to realize that, and you're actually starting to work towards identifying that, so that you can start seeing how you build improve your business from there. We always learn from our customers. They are the best teachers in our businesses.
mm.
That is amazing. When Thapelo. Now, I just want to understand a little bit. I think you've spoken about the market in broadly. What strategies you've spoken about the people that are near you, but I'm trying to understand if it was strategic in any way, or it
Mm-hmm.
was just here as a human being, and they I'll tell them, have you sat down and intentionally come up with a strategy on how you're going to penetrate the market?
Okay. So, okay, remember, I also need to remind you that the aim of Afro Scribes was to basically target patients. And it's actually funny because patients won't wear the scrubs. But like the aim was to, which I think is would probably be your next question. I'll come back to it. But the aim was to basically target hospitals. That's my main target, mainly patients, right? So obviously doctors are in within, they should wear the scrubs and everything like that. So what happened is that with Amos strategy and he decided to actually give me South Africa, a whole of South Africa. So I don't know what is happening with international people who are buying, like in terms of like having to interact with them. But he thought that for a small scale, rather start in Cape Town, where because I'm a student as well, I had to balance work as well. So in terms of the target, I have approached the faculty because I wanted to be a study whereby we're looking at the psychology of healing, right? So I know that people who do psychology who have done this before, but there hasn't been someone who have used scrubs which African print like I will do. So I approached Prof Naledi, and he was very triggered, just like you as well. He told me, he guided me what to do, like the project, the writing hypothesis, his like research and stuff. So I think my strategy is to use my knowledge in medicine, as well as me as an academia as well, to attract people, right? Because now if I'm speaking the same language with a respective clinician or clinician scientist who can be able to understand what they go through when they interact with patients, I think they'd want to invest in having to wear scrubs just so that they can observe how patients are going to react, right?
Yeah.
And students as well. I mean, I've seen in marketing whereby the other companies who sell scrubs, I haven't seen anything that relates with me as an African. And it's so funny that other nations, when they come here, like tourism or whatever, or when maybe someone is doing their electives here in South Africa, they're always like, where is a Kosa or like something that they always want to feel African. But then it's sad that we only wait for September Heritage Day just so that we can be able to wear African stuff. Like, what's going on? So it's I'm really I'm really not proud, I won't lie. But I think that's where my marketing strategy is, right? To engage with people rather than to give them products, to make them think, why is it that I'm doing this? To tell them the story behind it. What is the aim of it? Do they want to be part of change, or do they want to be part of something that it's just mainly, when we make a difference between a fish and a shark. A shark always goes to the opposite side, but a fish always goes along with other fishes, you know. So
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
rather choose to be a shark and go the opposite way.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, and I'm always fascinated when you are at gatherings where people from Africans from outside Africa are there, and it's a formal event, and they're
Mm.
still able to embrace the prints, and they're actually wearing them in abundance. So I totally get you, and that's why I said, for where you are in the world that we live in, especially South Africa, we've like westernized for real. So
Yeah.
it takes a special somebody and special um, enlightenment to actually get to think like that and have such conversations. And then so you've spoken about your engagement with the patients, and I just want you to unpack the spiritual psychology and how it links to creative healing.
Okay. Right. So one of the audience here is my sister, Stefina Musupi or Stefina Maake. So she's a psychologist, right? So I need to be very conscious when I say anything in psychology because she's definitely gonna be on my neck after this meeting because she's like, you said it wrong. That's not how psychology is.
It's an opportunity to unpack a bit more with
Mhm,
her.
mhm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so basically, I think in my understanding, in simple terms, psychology is mental perception, right? But spiritual psychology is different because I think it's something that because we're learning so much of Western academic stuff, we don't really get to delve much into spirituality, right? It just says, okay, four elements that are important in patient. One of those aspects is spirituality of the physical, emotional, mental, and then the spirituality, right? But it's something that is still hanging. People don't understand, right? People assume that spirituality is perhaps beliefs, right? Spirituality is perhaps practices, but spirituality is broad. Spirituality is life. It's how I connect with you. It's how I say how I see you, Ubuntu, to say I'm not just an individual, but you are you. I have Boipilo, and Boipilo has many others that are bara sibe sifanisaka Boipilo. I'm not sure if that makes sense, right? It's
Mhm.
having to connect with someone to understand their pain, to not only sympathize but to empathize. So I think in my concept, I got to have the understanding that there should be a sense of connection between myself and my patient. Because at the end of the day, patients come or visit the hospitals during the most vulnerable stages of their lives, right? And at that time, it's between life and death. So I'm privileged that as a medical student, as a doctor to be, I get to be the bridge between the living and probably those that have departed to heaven or the spiritual dimension of that individual and the individual themselves. The patient trusts me. The patient trusts doctors like nobody's business. Okay. So what I mean is that it's very sensitive. It's power or authority that it's very sensitive. And if you have someone who's not okay or it's not there for good intentions, someone may die not because they could have not been healed, but because of the consciousness of someone else, because of their presence, what they think, what they've done, their sense of purity, their sense of connection with the patient. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, with that being said, when I firstly interacted with my patient, I had trauma, right? So I'm spiritually inclined. What I mean is that I'm spiritually gifted, right? So I don't like I like hospitals, but there's also so much about hospitals that are traumatic, especially if you can like see beyond the eye of flesh, right? Like you people die in those beds, like people yeah, it's bad, right? So I had a bit of trauma, but when I went back home, I came back, I was okay. So obviously in spirituality you practice stuff, so there was a ritual for me and then I came back, I was fine. So I got to ask myself that I can't avoid this is me, right? I don't just interact with Sesibi Bilo at the hospital. I'm interacting with Bibilo the spirit and Bibilo the person that they are, you know. So I got to take a little bit step to understand how do I perceive that in a spiritual concept,
Mhm.
yet in a mental stimulation to say, what is it that the patient is thinking at that time? Are they themselves? Are they the person they are outside of the hospital? And 90% of the time, they're not the person they are outside. They're a total different person. It's either they've seen or they've come to a point whereby I think if I've gotten an opportunity to live again, I'll be a different person.
Yeah.
They in the position whereby they badly want to have another opportunity to make a difference. Probably they've visited the dimension before through dreams or something, but it's just a sensitive environment whereby if one doesn't have a connection with oneself, it's a problem. So that's where spiritual psychology actually comes in. It's a very fascinating field that I would truly advise people to indulge in, because there was a study whereby they were looking at the impact of doctors like clothing in patients. So let's say, for example, a doctor that was wearing a red scrub and went to a trauma unit. It's a no-go area. So they observed that patient became more traumatic. They were not okay because the red scrubs just reminded them of blood.
Mm-hmm.
So I was basically interested in looking at the perception of patient when they're at the hospital.
Uh-huh. My thing is not plugged properly. Let me just fix it quickly.
Okay.
That is sorted.
All right.
Is my camera still sitting properly after that? Thank you so much, Thapelo, for that. And I guess, even as a patient, these are not the kind of things that you consider, other than the reaction that somebody else actually sees on you. So it's quite educating, what you're sharing. What would you say are your key lessons since you started running this business?
Patience, sacrifice, commitment. I think I can list them all of them, but one thing is sacrifice. You must always be willing to lose something in order to gain something else, even if that something is not congruent. Oksala, you're gonna gain something. So I knew for sure that um, I there was gonna be capital that I needed to take out, and sometimes it's not nice seeing money coming out but not coming in. But I asked myself, am I doing it for money, or am I doing it to build something for the next generation in line in my family, and to also give someone else an opportunity to also be able to be a part of a project that probably in the next ages people are going to start talking about. I want my name to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered as Dr. Thapelo Maake, or that gynecologist, or whatever beautiful specialist or that will be. I want to be remembered as someone who brought change, someone whom once entered a hospital wearing an Ankara, Siswati, or Sipedi, or Sikosa attire, and patient just wanted to go back home. And remember, when someone wishes to go home, they heal quicker. That's the recipe. When
Yeah.
you are with patient, you just need to make them to feel at home. But you can make someone to feel at home, whereas you have taken a system on Europe and put it in Africa, and you ask yourself, why is it that people are still going back to traditional healers? What is it that they want? The problem is they feel at home. I don't know. It's just the concept, the new concept. I probably should have not mentioned that.
I, I think when your study has gone well, it'll be
This
very
very
interesting to
interesting.
get feedback and say when you started incorporating spirituality into it, and especially with an intention of improving their healing. How did that look like?
Sure.
Because we are always looking for ways that work, and I think as long as you not bringing in people to bring in the hospital, no one is really going to fight with you. But it doesn't mean that there are no other ways that are actually beneficial that you could consider. I just want to check quickly before we continue. If there are any questions, I hope that Nosipo can hear us now because she did say she couldn't hear the sound. I hope she was able to sort that out. Oh, I see. We had not started at that time. Okay, so that is sorted. And Nicola Bogaba is interested in the name that you mentioned of the lady who received an award from Italy.
Oh no, it's not a lady. Okay. It's a gentleman in correct using the right pronouns. Yeah, it's a he.
Oh, okay, okay. I think you'll find Nicola interesting because
Okay.
she's always been of the African roots.
Oh.
If you Google Nicola Bogaba, Gagesho, please,
Mm-hmm.
it's your language, so you'll know how to. I'm just struggling to remember if it's a Gagesho or a Gagesho, but I'm sure if you put Gagesho, something
Okay.
will pop up. And if you can connect with her, maybe you can have amazing conversation. She's definitely on Instagram. So you
I'll check
can
her
find
out.
on Instagram and see how you can have conversation with her. She's very um, passionate about things African, and she's even trying to
Mm.
incorporate that into the designs of the houses that she designs to have an African feel to it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
make stuff sabobupi, and it's not milli milli. You can choose a language, ki bupi, ki mabele, whatever
Hey,
language that you want. So she does all of those things.
that's
Um,
interesting. That's
yeah,
interesting.
so
What's the
try and
question?
connect with her because I'm sure you'll have interesting conversations together.
Okay. What was the question?
Now moving along, as a rep, what is your message of an encouragement to students? Because you're not just an entrepreneur, you are a student as well. So for
Mm.
students and women who are about to take the first step into entrepreneurship, what can you say to them?
Yeah, this one, it's, I just poured my heart to it. I actually wrote it down to say, firstly, you need to know that everything you commit yourself or invest your time in will always reflect back. It's
Mm,
like an echo, right? And it's important that you constantly ask yourself whether or not are you filling your cup or are you filling a lake, right?
okay,
Because at
okay,
the end of the day, a cup, there's a limit, but a lake, it's always constantly flowing. So what that means is that it's important to know what is it that you're passionate about firstly. You can't just suddenly know your purpose or your mandate. I mean, we've learned in psychology to say that we have identity, and mostly that happens during our pubic stages, like our teenage lives, like whereby you start to identify yourself. What am I into? What is it that I love? But most of the time it's mostly on worldly belongings or worldly things. People never get to think beyond um the material stuff. People never get to think beyond what you live here on this world. And for me, I think it's important that we revise that some of us, we're probably the first to graduate, the first to marry in our families. And did in order to succeed, or let us say, in order for this to continue to the next generation, one needs to constantly revisit why is it that they're here on earth, right? And I think I preferably would want to be that kind of an ancestor where my next generation or my children will always want to take my name and be Thapelo. Probably have multiple Thapelos because they'll be like, yeah, Coco was, yeah, Mbogoko or whatever they think. So I think I always want to be the first. And wherever I go, I always want to be the first. So it's important that as young people, as students, we don't only focus on academics. We don't only focus on things that are worldly systems, are controlled by the system, but we actually create our own system. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
you can just unpack a little.
So what that means is that, you know, it's funny how we are 2000s, ne? And in 2030, we're gonna be leaders. We are the ones that will be occupying the parliaments. And looking at how in South Africa, particularly, or rather in Africa, actually in the world, you're looking at how the young people, the youth, doing things, mostly it seems like social media has taken so much influence rather than being observant, because there are different types of learning. There's observant, there is, I've learned them, I think some of them I've forgotten them, but social media is different influence. It's no longer an observant thing. No, it's more of like an imitation, like an exact imitation, an exact copy. So having to taking that example to say we are future leaders, however, the foundation which we've been engrafted in, it's something that is very disturbing and something that one will question themselves whether or not are we going to are we going to, what is it that the next future is going to learn from us, rather than us having to imitate, or rather say incorporate or create immorality, or rather say abandon values that have like values that have engrafted our forefathers, and values that we as young people have been raised to embrace. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So as young people, and as someone who wants to embark in such a journey in business, don't make your own rules at some point. Like, don't follow the system, because eventually you'll fall within the trap if that is uncomfortable to say in public. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get you. I get you. Very often, parents or older people are concerned about where the generation thing, the now generation is actually going. The children that are coming up are going. So I think this becomes important, that we need to be a people who look within and who build, so that we can grow with those values and become better.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, what will be your advice to our audience regarding living their lives in relation to Africanism, spiritual psychology, decolonized healing, and everything around that? Not necessarily from a religion perspective, but there's an element of these in our lives that are not necessarily I'm anti this, I'm anti that. But
yeah, since people, a question is difficult, eh? I'm 20 years old, for goodness sake. Okay. Okay, that's a hiccup, say. I think in my opinion, I regard spirituality as life, as a symbol of life, right? And I try by all means to embrace it wherever I go. Some people may call me Mother Teresa, because that's what apparently I am in my class, because I like to wear like those African dukes and stuff, right? But it's a part of me. I've gotten to appreciate it. At first, I thought maybe I'm taking a particular fashion, or I'm going along of the lines of Pan-Africanist, But I got to realize that the fact that I have embarked on a journey at a very young age, gotten to learn things that, and listen as well, to learn a lot from those wise elderly people, and reading knowledge that people wish they had known when they were young. So I think to my audience, in everything you do, you need to incorporate some sort of spirituality in it. And decolonizing and healing, as much as we are heading to those 24th century, or like seventh industrial, which industrial is it? Sixth or eighth industrial?
The fifth one.
The fifth one.
Yeah.
As much as we're heading to it, there's something about it that, in my opinion, I feel like we're gonna get to a point where we've lost, or we've abandoned values that defines who we are. And it's unfortunate that it's gonna affect mostly African people because other nations seems to be protective by their own religious beliefs, like Muslims and Buddhism. And for us, it seems like we are occupying all of these belief systems. And the question is, who are we? You ask, there's some TikTok video that I watched before where, by the way, asking a young black child that between white and black, who are you? And they were like, I'm black. And then they showed like different leaders in different spirituality, and they were like, hey, choose which one do you find yourself in. And other nations, Chinese chose their own leaders whom they looked like, and a black person just still went for someone that doesn't look like them, and it's quite bothering at some point. So I'm not, maybe with this, but with what I'm saying now, perhaps it's quite sensitive to mention with our audience, but I'm just trying to make you guys think that as much as we are gonna be west, like more modernized and things like that, sometimes just ask yourself, how can you evolve as an African but still identify yourself unique from other people?
Best put, best put. Because it's all about, not everything African is wrong. So you can still choose a certain route, but not that it makes you go against totally who you are. And
Mm,
I'm not gonna start talking about the practices and the stuff, because I think that's where most of the time the conversations become very sticky. But maybe we look broadly, because being an African holistically, we can
mm,
look at that and say, how do I stand firm and in who I am? And thank you for the reminder for everyone on the call, to say, whoever you are, if you are African, whatever, how you define your Africanism, because we are various people within Africa as well. So the definitions may um, vary for from person to person. To say, how do you ground yourself in your values, and without feeling otherwise when you are linked to Africa and its ways of doing things.
mm,
Thank you so much, Thapelo. You've said so much. We probably at some point, when we try and work on the ratios, we we've spoken so much about spirituality and Africanism, and it's because that underpins your business and how you're driving it. It's a story behind um, your business, and it's important because people don't buy a product for most
mm,
part. They buy the story behind the product. When they can identify with the story, they then feel like this product is for me. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just wondering if there's any questions from our viewers before we have a few minutes left before o'clock. So if anyone has a question, and if you can just raise your hand. Um, what is here? Okay, I was seeing an orange dot that I don't know what it is. If anyone, or you can just unmute and ask a question, because I think maybe the raising hands, we must still see the hands and stuff. Does
uh,
anyone who wants to ask, is someone talking, or was it you?
yes, it's me actually. There's someone who okay, I'm looking at the chats, right?
Okay.
And there seems to be a question by Kilebogile Harold.
Oh,
Okay, can I read it out loud?
yes, you may.
Okay, so Kilebogile says, a very interesting interview, impressive story behind yourself and Afro vibes. Since it is centered around African spirituality and hearing you mention people like Austria being interested, what's the plan to perhaps cater for other religions outside of Africa as well, so that your patient gets home feeling as, oh yes, Kilebogile, that's a good question. That's actually the same question that Prof Naledi asked me. And I must say, Hore, I am designing for like not only like African queens, but then I've made my research thoroughly in terms of other colors that, when incorporated, they get to embrace a certain like nationality in a way. Like with, I think with the, is it with the Buddha? I think yellow some colors of yellow and certain patterns like the likes of um India, like shiny stuff. So I think I'll work around that. And yeah, if someone wants to purchase my product, definitely having to know that background and what is it that they're interested in terms of colors that can be embraced by them. I'll definitely incorporate that in my plan.
Great. That was awesome because it goes back to the same thing. Because as if I'm an Indian and I'm looking for an Indian outfit, it's about how it makes me feel and how it helps me to connect with others, the patients in this case. If you go a step back, I see Nicola um, responded and said she's sorting out her socials, but she left her web address. So maybe you can just click the link before
Mm,
the webinar.
okay.
And then Makomo says, where do we get to see your collection? Are there samples?
Yes, the samples. I'm not sure. Did you prepare? Did you like the PowerPoint that I sent you? Perhaps you can like that
Yeah,
on
perhaps I
board.
can.
Yes, let's use
Okay.
that. So the collection is on Afro Vibe Scrubbies link. I think let me just check for it quickly and just send you the clothing shop. Yeah, Afro Scrubbies. Okay. Mm, okay. All right. So if you follow this link that I just sent now, it will just take you straight to my website or the collection website, and the clothing shopping or where you can purchase things online is also available. But I think there was a TikTok video that I made, or yeah, a video that I made on how people can make purchases easier besides having to use the website. Because on the website, you basically purchase it, and the shipping gets to be included as well as an individual. So the shipping, or let us say the courier, will go straight to you. So that can be quite more expensive, especially if you're in South Africa, because it would have been easier if they came through me and then I can send it to you via Pepsi or Pep courier. I'm not sure if that makes, yeah.
Great. I think it would be great if you set up the WhatsApp shop, because then people do the WhatsApp business. Then you can load your products and people can just buy directly from the WhatsApp. I think that will help
Yes,
a
yes.
great
That's
deal.
that's also much simpler.
Yeah. So can you see my screen? Can you see the Afro Vibes scrubs on the screen?
Uh, no, I can't see it from my side. Not sure if the others can see it. Can you guys see it?
Oh, maybe I clicked that and I didn't say share. Let's try again.
Okay.
There was an error. Just missed the error. Okay, then I'll go here. Can you see?
Mm, the someone says it's not visible. On my side, it's also not visible.
I'm actually probably getting this sharing thing wrong because I see it's very tricky. I'll stop sharing and try again.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Mm,
Please just bear with me. What is the name of the file? Apple Vibes. Okay.
did you find?
The window. Uh, Somehow it's not picking up that. Maybe let me just do this. Let me see if I can share. I'll cancel that. Let me see if it doesn't look like the Thapelo.
Mm-hmm.
Please type your WhatsApp number on the screen so that everybody who's interested to have a discussion can contact you. then you can just WhatsApp it to them.
Okay. But on the website as well, it shows some of the samples that I have. I think it's also much easier that way, but I'll just type it on the page. Okay.
Yeah, because we
And
also when you have your WhatsApp number now, they can start engaging you if they want.
okay. Right.
Okay, I think while we do that, I'm looking at the time and it's 7 o'clock on the dot. Um, we are going to close the show, but we are not going to close down the meeting. So Thapelo will stick around and share her stuff there. If you need something, for the number is already there, so you can take the number. Please share the file in the message. We'll share the screen. Hey, I tried doing that. Let's say, I'm not winning. Clearly, I need to take time and practice how to share specifically on Google Meet. So let's do this. Let's close the show, and then we can stick around and work around the technicalities. If let's first laughing at me, it's oh. So I was now I'm thinking of the Nansoke joke that we had earlier. But anyway, that's my techno moment. Everyone, I sincerely, since one question, do you have Instagram, Thapelo? Do you
Yes,
have
I do, my
Instagram?
love.
Please type your Instagram handle also on there. You mentioned TikTok. I'm not much of a TikToker, but you can put your TikTok handle on there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So while Thapelo is doing that, I would like to take this time to thank all of you for coming out in numbers and having this, enjoying this moment with us and learning together. Thapelo is amazing and she really has an amazing story. And I'm glad that she could make time to to be here with us. Thank you so much, Thapelo. We appreciate that. And we wish you
You.
well for the business. I know the socials is one of the things that you still need to give more attention to. I'm happy to have a chat at some point. I don't come to campus so much these days, and I'm praying
Well,
that I don't have to get to go to campus tomorrow because the weather is crazy in Cape Town, unfortunately, and it's gonna be like this the whole week.
now meet
Thank
up
you,
with you.
everyone. I wish you a splendid week ahead. And those in Cape Town, keep warm and take care of yourself because it's rough out there. We were up
Mm.
at 5 because the rain was hitting against the window. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. If you're needing something from Thapelo, please don't log off. We won't close the call immediately so that everyone can leave having had their information of interest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go offline. If anyone still has questions or comments or need from Thapelo, she has shared her Instagram. I don't see your Instagram thing, Thapelo. Uh,
Um, it's Lowy Africa Foundation. The personal one, I'm still
no,
working on it, guys. Yeah. You
yeah,
see
let's do the personal one because I actually meant to say to send you a message to ask you to accept my collaboration.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because I know you had this conversation. I know that you're not so much into
On
social
social
media,
media,
but
yeah.
what is your
I'm still
social media?
working on it. I'm still working on it. I
What
swear.
is your Instagram handle?
My personal Instagram handle. Okay, it's Thapelo Maake.
No, no, no. The handle is at
The
I venue or something like that.
at Thapelo Maake.
No, Thapelo. There's a lot of Thapelo markets on there, but I know that
Oh, it's a number.
the
Okay.
handle is different from
Sorry.
your.
sorry. You said I don't even know what. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me see.
Okay. I'll help you find
Um,
it quickly.
Mtanemboni, yes. Mtanemboni. At
How do I spell
Mtanemboni.
that?
Mtanemboni.
Ntanembo.
Yes, at Mtanemboni. Sorry, guys.
Please check on the screen if I tapped it correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, you see now I'm literally showing off what I know. Social media dollar.
It's
But
okay.
I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting for it.
We will get there. Sarah says, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for watching.
And Stefina was here.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's the psychologist there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's actually my sister.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, there's still just few people, so we can wait 2 more minutes. If you still have any questions or you're trying to copy something, I'll leave this open for another 2 minutes, then we can close. Thank you, Lesejo. Thank you so much. I think it has gone quiet. Um, okay, I think I'm going to go off. I will share the YouTube link. Then we can just share with everybody
Okay.
to be able to listen. So if anything, I'm hoping that it will show nicely. It's funny how I got the link from Stefina's WhatsApp status. Thank you, Stefina, for connecting you, Lesejo, and yeah. Bye bye, Lesejo.
Bye.
Nkwali, I hope you are sorted. I see you still here because we are now closing the meeting completely. Yeah, so there is just one person that is here. Maybe they're just taking time to go off. All right, I'll say thank you for everything. Thank you for this interview. We'll connect when I come to campus. Like I said this week, I'm like crossing my fingers that someone goes on the group and say, maybe not for tomorrow. I can't hear you.